And welcome back to another episode of Pokemon Knowledge. Now, I was planning on doing a pre-recorded video, but I said screw it. I might as well just go live for this because I'm bad at pre-recorded videos. So I'm going to try to keep this one short and just kind of talk about, some of the stuff that I've heard been going around right now on YouTube and on PokeBeach and on Discord groups and on Twitter and you name it. Wherever there's Pokemon content, all anybody's really talking about right now is Temple Forces and potential market manipulation that could be going on right now with cards. So I'm there's like some big cards right now. The Iron Crown, it was selling for $50, and then all of a sudden overnight, just market price exploded closer to 100. And I was like, okay, is this like just going on TCG Player? Or is this also happening on eBay? And then I went and I looked on eBay and I saw 31 bids, $126 card, and actually some people even on Instagram messaged just screenshots of that card asking kind of what's going on. A lot of, and another thing I've heard too is a lot of people are talking about how tough the pull rates are right now for Temple Forces, and I just don't think that the pull rates are that bad. I just watched a bunch of CTR stream. If you haven't had a chance to watch his stream, he just opened up like 4 or 5 cases worth of Temple Forces, and while he wasn't able to pull the Bianca card that he wanted to pull, he was still able to pull like a ton of the alt arts and a ton of the hits, and they were close to between 1 to 2 big hits per case. So that's pretty much right on par for what you would expect. And from what Ryan was doing, it does seem like maybe the full arts and stuff are a little bit less. But then before I went live tonight, I was like, let me check out Danny Phantom's video too. And Danny Phantom opened up a little over 2,000 packs. So, or maybe it was a little less than 2,000. I think he opened up 1,800 packs. So a little less than 2,000 packs, but still a pretty decent sample size. And, what Danny Phantom found out that it was around 13 hits per booster box. And again, those 13 hits, I still have these new ace cards, ace spec cards in it and stuff. So it is a little skewed, and he did a good job. He compared Temple Forces to a set that a lot of other people thought had pretty tough pull rates, which was Astral Radiance, and he compared the two sets, and it seems like, Temple Forces is still pretty much on par with a lot of these other sets. And the reason why I titled this video the way I did is Temple Force's market manipulation on Pokemon. And if it was, I'm going to be honest with you. This is exactly how you want market manipulation to play out. Because if you don't have a lot of people with a lot of hype around something, or maybe a product or Pokemon as a whole is not doing great, one of the things you need to happen is you need people to start talking. You need people to feel like they have a sense of FOMO, that they're missing out. And the only way you do that is if you get a good group of people together. Smart people. People that are opening a lot of product. And they don't even need to have huge bank accounts. I think a lot of people in this hobby, they truly, truly underestimate how little bit of money you actually need to sway markets. You can literally, in some cases, do one sale and people will talk about it. Literally, the card that I just mentioned earlier, that Iron Crown, there were like one sale of like $240. And I saw multiple people on multiple platforms talk about that one sale. It doesn't take much, and that one sale doesn't even have to get paid for. As long as it shows that that card is sold, it gets people talking. And then everybody who wasn't even interested in Temporal Forces, all of a sudden, they're interested in Temporal Forces. It's a phenomenon that happens in this hobby, and it just shows you how easily manipulated Pokemon is. The pull rates, in my opinion, aren't that bad. The chase, I actually, and you know what? It actually kind of works too, because how often do I make videos talking about, the most modern of sets right at release? I don't. But because everybody's talking about this right now, because that's where the hype is, because everybody's just FOMOing into it as it is the next, great best thing. These prices, hell, they might stay strong because the crazy thing about market manipulation and artificial demand is if it's done proper, I don't know, this is going to be a sentence a lot of people are not going to want to hear. If market manipulation is done correctly, the hobby has a very, very short, truncated timeline where they're actually able to understand market manipulation, market buyouts, until eventually people will just believe that there is demand around a lot of this product. And as long as people believe that there's demand in a product, they'll just continue that cycle until eventually they're going to hit the edge of that cliff and there's going to usually be like a pretty big fall off. But we saw it happen. I mean, you can make a million videos talking about all the cards that have been market manipulated. You know, one of the big cards that happened was the Jesse and James from Hidden Fates. That was like one of those cards that had a huge buyout. Markets, you know, prices went way up, prices crashed back down. But especially right at release, I'm just telling you, it does not take a big effort, and it definitely does not take a ton of money to manipulate these cards. So I don't know. It's just pretty wild. People are saying let me look. My internet is dropping frames. I'm hard connected in right now, so I'm not really sure what's going on. But let me see. Yeah, saying I got great internet connection, so I don't know. We'll see how the recording of this goes. But yeah, man, it's pretty wild how little it takes to manipulate these markets. Now, I'm looking at some of these prices, and I'll pull up the TCG player right now just so you guys can look at it too. Let's see if I could, how easy I could do this. So I'll move this here. Oh, let's see if I actually know how to. I'll do this. I'll put this here. Okay, yeah. So this is just TCG player right now. This is all products right now for Temporal Forces, but right here, the Iron Crown, 33 listings, 93.99. The market price was $50. Just in the matter of today, the market price already went up about $28 from where it was sitting at. The Iron Leaves, 41 listings, $56, market price $60. Like, the problem is there was a while today where the listing quantities for this were super, super low. But that's another thing, too. When you have market manipulation, you're going to have people FOMO into this. But the problem is this is a set that is actively, very, very actively being open right now. And because it's actively being open right now, there's going to be a ton of this supply is going to, like, hit this market. And it's going to hit the market just in droves. And it's going to drive down these prices. And especially if people feel that there is money to be made, it's going to give people even more incentive to kind of just throw these cards onto TCG Player real quick and to really just pile into that market and do whatever they can to more or less, like, destroy that market. But let me I want to know in the chat how's the connection? Because it looks like I might be dropping some frames on my end. But yeah. But yeah, going back to TCG Player, it's just, I mean, you got a couple big cards in here. I mean, $90, two $90 cards. The Bianca is sitting right around 35, so it's not bad. There's some pretty beautiful, like, illustration rares in this set. Like, it's a strong set. These card prices are actually pretty strong. And this is what Pokemon needs to do, too. I know people don't like to hear that, is when you have prices start to, trend down a little bit and that secondary market starts to wean a little bit, Pokemon has one of two options. They could kind of short print stuff, but when they short print stuff, you really piss off a lot of people, and the people you piss off is, the people that is relying on you to supply them this product. And I've already talked about this on my channel. In 2020, whoever the MG Holdings rep was, or whoever was from Walmart or Target, whoever had the direct line to MJ Holdings and then to the Pokemon Company, I can't even imagine the phone calls that were going on in 2020, 2021 saying, why is there no product on my shelves? Why? Why the fuck is there no product? Like, and I've talked about this on other lives. Walmart and Target's business model, their business model is not to have empty shelves. Their business model is to have product on the shelves. So, one way you can really help secondary market and keep demand going is the short printing, but you hurt all those people. Your Walmarts and Targets, they'll get really, really pissed off at you really, really fast if you short print stuff. So the other option you can do is you can make pull rates much harder. And then by, you know, pulling back on pull rates, it does the same thing as short print and it causes the secondary market prices for singles to go up. If single prices are high, market demand for sealed product will also go up. It's like this trickle effect throughout this hobby. So this is the problem I run into, and I feel like a lot of people run into the same problem. And the question is, how much credit do you want to give Pokemon as a company? And what I mean by that is Pokemon big brain in this stuff? Do they care about the secondary market? Do they have people within their corporate office that understands, hey, secondary market is needed. It's a necessity in the hobby. And the reason why is because you don't want to kill demand. And Pokemon has always been pretty good at that. They've always been very good at turning that tap on and off and faster and slower and trickling product out and then dumping product. And they definitely have their mistakes they make. But any company, especially at the volume Pokemon is moving product, they're going to have mistakes. But for the most part, the track record for Pokemon is extremely good. And that is one of the reasons, like anybody who's deep into Pokemon, they're going to tell you that one of the reasons that they're, call it bullish, or they believe in the longevity of Pokemon is because of Pokemon's ability to not just, I mean, they definitely have their moments where they overprint stuff, but they don't do that all the time. And I'm wondering if, we give Pokemon too much credit, that they aren't really big brain in this stuff and that they would just kill product and kill secondary markets if they had the ability, but because demand is just so strong that they don't have the ability. So it goes back to just, is it too much credit, or is Pokemon just getting super lucky? And the thing about modern product is hot. You can't deny it. When a new set comes out, there is hype, but the problem is we're just seeing so much go on right now where I don't know if it was just Pokemon printed too much or sets too quickly, or there's always been that question too of, do people ever get wallet fatigue? Do people ever get burned out just buying product over and over and over again in what feels like, I mean, I've talked about it. Pokemon's not a sprint, it's a marathon. But do you get wallet fatigue eventually? And then if people do get wallet fatigue, there's never going to be like a perfect definition of when does that wallet fatigue actually settle in. And maybe it takes 4 or 5 years for wallet fatigue to really start to like affect the market. We don't know because we'd never seen the sort of influx that we saw happen in 2020. That was the definition of a black swan. And obviously, when you have a huge dump of people entering that hobby, you're going to have a lot of people are going to come and go. But anytime you have a huge dump, which is the best part, is a lot of those people stick around. And those people that stick around, one of the things you hope for is people sticking around, especially if you're in more the invest in aspect of Pokemon, is you hope that those people stick around and keep putting money into the hobby. And anytime sets are released, you need that much more capital entered into the hobby. Because every time a new set is released, if you have, for every set release, let's say you got 1 million booster boxes, you need, 1 million times 100. You need at least $100 million worth of new money to come in to just eat up that supply. So that requires $100 million worth of new capital to come into the hobby every single set. And then if you also want all the other surrounding auxiliary products, whether that's single cards, whether that's sealed product, if you still want all that stuff to also continue in like to rise in value, whether it's graded cards, vintage, whatever, not only do you need that $100 million for every single new set release to enter into the hobby and to, influx new cash, you also, for everything else to rise, you need even more money to go come in on top of that. So that's a tough thing, right? And there's no perfect answer of how much of this money is coming in every single set. Is it just happening over and over and over again? And it's just because if you looked at, we're just gonna, this is not, I don't ever like to like compare Pokemon to, I don't like to do two things. One, I don't like to compare Pokemon to, a lot of people like to compare it to the S&P 500. I don't like to do that. A lot of people like to compare Pokemon to other collectible assets, whether it's Beanie Babies or Pogs or coins or shout out to Dan Ketchum collectibles to, Bear Steins. I don't like to do that either. I like to look at Pokemon as its own independent thing, separate than everything else. That's how I like to look at Pokemon. But if you were gonna just, for fucking shits and giggles, for the sake of it, just say, well, if Pokemon, just the product that existed on the market, was a company, all that product that exists on the market has to have a dollar amount associated with it, right? But then with every new release, you have to have that value of that company keep going up and up and up and up and up and up. And it just has to keep compounding and piling in and having all that product that exists on the market just be worth more every single day. And like that's why when sometimes everybody loves to see like huge run-ups in price. Like that's the best thing in the world, to have huge run-ups in price. But the problem is when you have huge run-ups in prices, like you want it to be more organic. You want that money to just kind of trickle in, because then it's more likely that those prices are going to have less volatility. But when you have a ton of money just dump in, it's just crazy. So Snowy asks, does PK read chat or nah? I guess that answers your question. I do read the chat, but usually I do my little rants and then I go back at the end and I read the chat. But no, it's just wild looking at this. And I listen, there's really good cards. You know, the question becomes like, if you looked at modern Pokemon and you looked at Scarlet and Violet, you want to ask the question, what is going to be the saving grace of Scarlet and Violet? I think that's a good question. I think a lot of people ask that question. When you look at Sword and Shield, the saving grace for Sword and Shield was the pandemic. The saving grace of Sword and Shield wasn't an individual set, because, you know, Logan Paul opened up his first edition booster box case in October 2020. Vivid Voltage was released in November 2020. Vivid Voltage was, you know, unavailable on the shelves. You couldn't pick up that booster box even if you wanted. Appreciate Snowy with the $5 super chat. Uh, but, you think about that, and it's just the saving grace was the pandemic, because Vivid Voltage was there, but Vivid Voltage was a solid set. Like, and especially when people were coming back into the hobby, it had a very easy identifiable Pokemon on the front of that box. That front of that box was that VMAX Pikachu. It was on the ETB. It was on the booster box. It doesn't matter who you are in the hobby. Everybody knows Pikachu. So when all the hype started for Sword and Shield, luckily there was a Pikachu on the front of every single pack, and that was, everyone could just identify it. And it's like, I know Pokemon. I know Pikachu. I'm gonna open up a pack. So, and then also because that Pikachu VMAX was selling for over $1,000, people forget that. Booster boxes of Vivid Voltage were selling for greater than 220 before all the reprints happened. PSA 10s of that Pikachu VMAX were selling for $1,500. Obviously, all that stuff had retraced a ton, but at the time when everybody was re-entering the hobby and they look and they go, wow, this product is sold out everywhere. It's super expensive for the sealed product. Oh my God, there's $1,000 chase card in this product. For anybody walking in off the street who hadn't touched a pack of Pokemon cards in 20 years, that helps out a lot. So in a way, Vivid Voltage at the time, and Pokemon wasn't planning for the pandemic to happen and for the release of Vivid Voltage to work out that way, and to have the mascot of the entire franchise be the chase card and have them be on the booster box and the ETB. I don't think that was Pokemon big brain in it. It just, everything worked out at the exact perfect time, right? It was the perfect storm. And then, right after Vivid Voltage, Shining Fates came out. And at the time, everybody was already Somebody just said ads, lol. Why are ads? I turned off ads. Hold on, let me look. Let me know if I just saved so I insert them manually. Hopefully that works. But yeah, I don't know why it does that. People are saying internet's lagging on me. Shit. But yeah, I don't know why. Stream stopped. God damn it. Connection cut out again. God damn it. Uh, I could go reset my router, but all right. Anyways, people are saying it seems good now. Sorry, guys. Um, but yeah, and then right after Vivid Voltage, you had Shine and Fates happen, you know, and then Shine and Fates. Everybody at the time they were just fucking creaming their pants for Hidden Fates. Snowy said your connection's cutting out. Yeah, sorry about that. I just shut off the ad, so hopefully that works. I didn't reset my router right before I went live because this was like a last second thing. But people are saying they had 5 ads since I started. This is all YouTube. I'm not like inputting these ads. It's all YouTube doing fucking shit. Uh, yeah, people are saying stream stop. Maybe it's from the ads popping in and out. But everybody was creaming their pants for Hidden Fates, so Shining Fates was just like had two Chars or had a big chase Charizard in it, I should say, and then right before Vivid Voltage was Champion Path again, big Charizard chases. So it just was like this perfect timeline. So because of that timeline, it was the saving grace of Pokemon and Sword and Shield, and then the beautiful thing about every set that followed after Vivid Voltage, and Shining Fates, every one of those sets was better than the last. you know, Battle Styles introduced alternative arts, and then Chill and Rain had a huge like subsection of just great chases. Chill and Rain, great set. Chill and Pain because it absolutely sucks to pull the cards that you want. The chases, damn near impossible from Chill and Rain. And then Fusion Strike again, huge set, tons of chases, but then going into Evolving Skies and then Evolving Skies with the evolutions and stuff, and it was just every set just got better until Brilliant Stars brought back the character rares that we saw from Cosmic Eclipse, and then even all the way to the end of Sword and Shield, all the way to Silver Tempest. Silver Tempest still went out with a bang because the chase card of that set was still the Lugia. So anybody who's at, and I didn't even mention like celebrations being thrown in the middle of all that. And then, like I said, with Silver Tempest having that Lugia Altart, it was just a compounding of just beautiful, perfect storms happening over and over and over again. And then now we go into Scarlet and Violet, and you got to ask yourself the question, well, what is going to be the saving grace of Scarlet and Violet? Because right now, Scarlet and Violet, when you take the sets and you compare them and you put them 1-to-1 against most sets in the history of Pokemon, every single Scarlet and Violet set kind of in a way wins out. Every Scarlet and Violet set is an absolute banger. But, and then the same way as I talked about, right after Vivid Voltage, you had Shine and Fates came out, and it was a savior because everybody wanted Hidden Fates. They couldn't get their hands on it. Scarlet and Violet, they tried to do that reprint. They did Paldean Fates. Beautiful artwork with the ETB, with that Mimikyu. Tons of shiny Pokemon in it. Baby Shinings. It's a copy of Shining Fates. It's a copy of Hidden Fates. But guess what? It just didn't work out this time. The same exact recipe that Pokemon was able to do with Sword and Shield just didn't work with Scarlet and Violet. So then, every set of Scarlet and Violet that came out, everybody's kind of just sitting back and they're waiting. They're saying, okay, well, what is the next thing? What is going to be that saving grace? And then people look at Temple Forces, and there was so much conversation that happened before Temple Forces was technically released, where people were talking about Temple Forces being short printed and all this stuff. And a lot of people in this hobby, unfortunately, they look for that artificial demand. And that's what short print and stuff is. It's artificial demand. But then when people actually started to get their allocations from distribution, because again, it was distribution leaking it to these people saying Temple Forces was going to be short printed. But then when allocations and the true numbers actually started to hit people, people were like, wait a second, this wasn't like short printed at all. And then I didn't mention, like, obviously, during Scarlet and Violet, I'm looking in the chat. People are saying I glossed over 151. I definitely did gloss over 151 because 151, like I've talked about this on other lives, and I'm gonna mention it again. When people talk about specialty sets, I don't know if people will ever like talk about 151 as saying one Scarlet and Violet 151. I think in 10 years from now, 15 years from now, 20 years from now, I think Scarlet and Violet is just going to kind of be on its own. And it's going to always be a standalone. And it's going to be a set that everybody always enjoys. Everybody always wants to open. I think it's going to do really well in the long term. But I just don't think people are going to be able to tell you which set came before uh, 151. And I don't think people will be able to tell you which set came after it. It's the same way that I just mentioned Shining Fates, and I told you that Battle Styles came after it and Vivid Voltage came before it. I just don't really know if people will do that. Or even Champions Path. Path, the set that came after it was Vivid Voltage, and the set that came before Champions Path was Darkness Ablaze. I just don't know if people will really be able to do that. And because of that reason, I think 151 will kind of just always stand on its own. So I think people are more looking for Scarlet and Violet as the block itself for whatever that saving grace can be. And maybe it's going to take a set like Temple Forces that has beautiful artwork in it. Like the special illustration rares are really, really good. And if it's going to take, artificially low pull rates for people to have to open up a ton of this, and the Morty's conviction in this set is freaking badass. The Gengar full art is badass. Like, it is such a good freaking card. Like, I don't know. It's just. Oh, let me see something. Yeah. But, no, it's just. We'll see. What do you? I want to know what you guys think in the chat right now. Do you think that Temple Forces is just market manipulation at its finest? People are just FOMOing in right now, or do you think that somehow, some way, Temple Forces is going to be able to buck the trend of Scarlet and Violet, and all these prices are not going to retrace? I mean, look at what 151 did. 151 played out similar. Like 151 at release, prices stayed low, and then there was very low supply, and then 151 prices started to go up, and they were actually creeping up, which usually that doesn't happen at release, right? There's been a few sets that's happened. Is Temple Force is going to be that thing where people. So Tap said surely 151 Charizard buyouts would be more profitable and easy to maintain. No? Question mark. I mean, it depends what you're trying to buy out. Like I told you, it doesn't. When you only have 33 listings of a card, if you're doing mass openings of this, you can just show a lot of fake sales. It only takes a couple fake sales to make people believe that that's a real price. I was talking to some big Japanese, uh, like some of the big Japanese sellers, and I asked them about the Japanese buy list for a lot of these waifu cards. And I asked them, I was like, it's amazing the price difference between waifu cards for Japanese versus the price for waifu cards for like the English cards. And these Japanese store owners told me in person, they go, well, those buy list prices aren't really that real. A lot of the buy list prices that happen, those are sales that happen between the stores, meaning like they're not really real sales, and that they're hoping that the secondary market latches on to these higher prices, and then the stores are able to make money with their advertised buy list prices because that affects the market. Even though their buy list exists, they don't actually buy cards up for that price, if that makes sense. And that's how the Japanese sellers were really able to manipulate the waifu market. And this is coming from one of the biggest sellers in the Japanese market, told me this personally, so I'm going to take his word for it. Snowy said, what do you think about mega cards returning? You know, I want to see how the mega cards look. I want to see, is it a one-to-one sort of printing like they had in XY? And if that's the case, I don't think they're going to perform that good. If they bring back megas, but they bring it back with a new, fresh art style. It isn't some sort of rehash art style like we saw in XY. If it's different, then I think Megas will do really well. It's the same way as, people were worried about like bringing back EX cards. It's like you got lowercase EX. Then you went to uppercase EX. Now you're back to lowercase EX. And then people like, you get real deep down the rabbit hole. People are asking like, what do you think about bringing back EX cards? And it's like, I don't care. I don't care if they bring back obviously we have EX cards. I don't care if they bring back GX cards. I don't care what we end up getting back. I don't care if they bring back gold stars, or if they bring back level X cards, or if they bring back prime cards, or you know more alt art reprints, or if they bring back, yeah, I don't care. It's like whatever the chase is, it doesn't affect me because it's all about the artwork. Like the modern EXs, the ones that are on the screen right now, these things are standalone. I mean, the artworks for these are just Pokemon is doing so well. And one of my favorite quotes in the hobby is by Mr. Dan Catchmall Collectibles, don't underestimate artists' ability to art. And we're seeing it happen real time in front of our face. Like artists' ability to art is undeniably awesome. The problem is with like Temporal Forces, I mean, I don't know. I haven't been playing the game. I know Rattle was doing some live streams where he was actually playing the actual game. So, like, you know, the Iron Crown, like, I understand it's a future Pokemon, but I just don't know enough about the story of them yet. And I don't even know, like, what Pokemon that is supposed to be. I think it's, like, starts with the letter C. Oh my god. Forget the name. But, I don't know. I mean, the Walking Wake is sick. The Gouging Fire EX is sick. Sick. The Morty's Conviction. I mean, any Gengar card is sick. The Bianca is sick. Like, and then obviously you got your Ace Specs, which are just super playable right now. And like, there's a combination. I mean, this Ghastly, that Ghastly freaking slaps, man. And then it's, the Iron Crown, the gold cards are kind of cheap right now, whatever. But like this Gengar, I wouldn't. I mean, this is a $10 for this card. I don't think you could really go that. I mean, can you go wrong at $10 for this card? Like, what is your worst case scenario in this? This becomes a $5 card. It becomes a $4 card. Like you're gonna lose, yeah, 50% of your money, but your 50% of your money is still gonna be a full art Gengar. This card at $10 to me, there's a buy all day. 40 listings, that's $400. You could buy out all these cards, and then it would never be $10 again. This $10 would jump up. It would be on the first page. Like, that's just how this market works. Full art trainers are, I don't know, like, what their, look at the top 6 cards of your deck and put 2 of them in your hands, discard the other cards. Yeah. I mean, I'm sure playability wise, some good trainers. What is this trainer? Your opponent reveals their hand. Oh, choose up to 2 item cards you find there and discard them. I mean, talk about hand disruption right here. Literally, when you're talking about playability and you're talking about like hand disruption, one, you can know what your opponent is setting up, and you already are going to probably have a decent understanding before you even play this card because you're going to see whatever cards in there active and stuff, and you could quickly identify what sort of deck this person is playing. So you already know like all the cards that they need to make that deck viable to work. So the fact that your opponent's going to show you what they have in their hand, and then you get to choose up to 2 of the item cards you find there and discard them on them. Talk about hand disruption. Like, huge. I mean, super. I could see how this card could be super, super playable because you're going to rock people's world because a lot of Pokemon, you're only drawing 1 card per turn. So it usually, especially some cards where it takes a decent amount to get that hand set up, if you have the ability to disrupt their hand in that sort of manner, like that card could be super playable. I can see how Temple Forces can be, like, it could be huge, man. It really helps out. Uh, let's see. Uh, So I'm going to scroll up real quick to the last super chat I read, and then I'm going to read everything below it. Collector's Habit said, if Temple Forces is market manipulation, consider myself manipulated. LL. I already spent more than I wanted to on sealed product, not to the level of CTR, but still more than I thought. But Collector's Habit, let me ask you the question. Was Temple Forces on your radar before prices started to go up, before secondary market prices started to go crazy? Did you see, you know, your Iron Crowns being posted in Discord groups and on, Twitters and stuff? And because you were seeing this happen, did that make you want to buy this more? Because, like I mentioned earlier, it is a good tactic for people to get people hyped about it. And, Temple Forces booster boxes have already creeped up like $10 in price. They're already sitting right around $100. So there's already been a 10% swing in these booster boxes where people are wanting to get in. And then the question is, if you can get people to FOMO into this, and then you can get people to say, okay, I now want to complete a master set of this. If you go back to my last live, one of the things I talk about is, well, why is 151 so successful? Because I showed the Nine Tails from 151 and I showed the Nine Tails from Obsidian Flames. And objectively, from an art standpoint, the Nine Tails from Obsidian Flames is a way nicer looking card, like artistic wise, but the full art Ninetales from 151 was selling for almost a 2x premium of what that Obsidian Flames Charizard was. And the argument that a lot of people are going to put, and I'm not going to rehash this too much, but the reason that Ninetales is more expensive and more sought after is because so many people are completing 151 because they want it to as a master set. So if that's the case, and you have people now looking at these Temple Forces cards and really starting to dive into the actual set list and the composition and looking at all these cards and then saying, you know what? I think Temple Forces is going to be a set that I'm going to want to be I want to do a master set of. I am actually going to complete this set. And if that happens, and they maybe yesterday that wasn't on their radar. And that's the thing about Pokemon and Pokemon collectors and the Pokemon hobby, and I've mentioned it before, and it's a perfect world fickle. Pokemon collectors are fickle. It is. Sometimes it's just you got to show them, you got to just put that carrot on a string and just dangle it a little in front of them and let them try to go after it. Let them chase that carrot on the string. And it's truthful. Like, I know a lot of people don't want to hear it, but it just is what it is. So I turned off ads. If you guys are still getting ads, I don't know what to do at this point. I did shut them off, so sorry if you guys are still getting ads. John Doe said, I would have rather seen new Pokemon tend to redo the dogs the way they did. I mean, are they the dogs? Yeah, I don't even. Yeah, okay. So Suicune, Entei. Oh, they're not Entei. Raikou. So this is Raikou. This is Suicune, and then this is Entei. Okay. Oh, okay. So these are the future forms of those, or are these the past form? No, temporal forces. So it would be future. Okay. Yeah, I guess it's technically rehashing Pokemon, but you're doing it in a different way. Uh, let's see. Justin says megas with crazy artworks would do really well. Yeah. Well, XY they tried to do crazy artworks for Mega, and you could see it. It was a totally different feel to it. It really brought like a weird anime feel to the TCG, something that we never really seen. And you can say, if any cards in the Pokemon hobby, if you had to just say what compares the most to Dragon Ball Z, which obviously very different, it's going to be a very tough comparison. But if you're going to look throughout the entire Pokemon TCG and say, well, which cards have the most anime Dragon Ball Z type feel, it's going to be XY Megas, right? Like, it's just, I can't really think of any cards off the top of my head that feel more like a Dragon Ball card. But if you remove that sort of art style and you just do something totally different, if you're able to use the canvas, which is now the alternative art style of Pokemon cards, then yeah, I think Megas will be huge. Will it be enough to save Scarlet and Violet? It depends what Pokemon it is. You know, if it's a, yeah, I get, the more I talk about it, the more I think about it, then yeah, I think Megas could have a bigger impact than maybe I originally thought they would. I could definitely see that. See, this is when you do a live and you start to talk stuff out and you start to kind of your head just talk your way through stuff. Yeah, it makes me think that you're onto something, definitely. Um, Space Frog said the difference between Scarlet and Violet main sets is way less than past generation. Temporal is no better than Paradox, in his opinion. Maybe, but Paradox, maybe the difference is that Paradox never got a buyout. And like I said, maybe this is just people coming around to figuring out how to manipulate the market. I told you it doesn't take much to manipulate these markets. If this is what's going on, it might actually work because people really haven't done a really good coordinated market manipulation in a while. And I feel like too, it's perfect timing in a sense too that the market has been waiting for the next banger set. Like people get antsy. People don't want Paradox Rift $80 booster boxes. Like even though you should want that as somebody who's investing in sealed product because ideally you want to get in at your lowest price point because what's your downside risk at 80? It's historically in Pokemon, it's very, very small risk when you're acquiring product at 80. So, as an investor in Pokemon, that is what you should want. But, like, the average person doesn't want cheap products. I know people say they want cheap products, but I'm telling you, when product is cheap, people just won't buy it. People only ever want stuff in Pokemon when they can't, either one, they can't get it because it's unavailable, or number two, it's expensive. And the second things become expensive, that's when people are going to want it. It's the same thing as what happened right now with Chill and Rain and Fusion Strike. Both of those hitting right around $200 a booster box. It's like nobody wants Chill and Rain and Fusion Strike when they're $80, $90 a booster box. It takes until they go on a crazy parabolic run after the fact, after they've been out of print for years, and then they hit $200, and then all of a sudden, everybody's talking about Chill and Rain, everybody's talking about Fusion Strike. It's like, well, where the hell were you for the last couple of years where all this stuff was cheap? But again, that's the collector, that's the people in this hobby that they only ever want whatever they can't get, or it's that FOMO, it's that fear of missing out where if they don't buy it now, they'll never get it. And for some product, there's definitely like some validity to that. There are some sealed products that if you don't buy it now, you might never see it cheaper. I went out on a limb and I said that I think Brilliant Stars, once it's unavailable at PokemonCenter.com, is going to explode. I made that video on, was it Thursday? And then I gave myself in that video a 14-day timeline. Again, that is a product that has been out for years, and I gave myself a 14-day timeline, which I thought that will eventually go out of stock on PokemonCenter.com. I don't even know if that happens, and it might be 2 months, but still, I think that's coming to the end. So there are some products that I think, you could either get in at today's prices, and then prices will probably never be this low again unless we see some sort of wild reprint that I'm not expecting at all. But like that's the thing. And I promise you, I made a video saying I think it's now is a good time to pick up Brilliant Stars on PokemonCenter.com if you have it. 143. You missed your opportunities at 110, 120, but that was like a year ago. Your money would have been stagnant for a year. So you pick it up at 143, I think you could do pretty well. The same way as I said that, there will be people out there who will skip on battle styles. Or, sorry, I said battle styles. We'll skip on. Have I been saying battle styles? I meant Brilliant Stars. But there will be. I think I've been saying Brilliant Stars. But, anyways, there will be people who will skip on Brilliant Stars on PokemonCenter.com at 143 because it's available, it's in stock. And then it will go out of print. And the same way that people are talking about Chill and Rain and Fusion Strike at $200 a booster box, all of a sudden, everybody will start talking about Brilliant Stars at $200 booster box. And then it will be able to move past that point, and it's going to go past Chill and Rain, it's going to pass Fusion Strike, and then it's going to go to 230, 240, 250 a booster box. And the only way it gets up to 230, 240, 250 is you have to have people buying it at 200. And the way this market is, the way the average buyer consumer is there will be buyers at $200 for Brilliant Stars in the next, like, from when it goes out of stock on Pokemon Center within the first week. there will be buyers of that at $200 because they'll just sit there, they'll sit on their hands, they'll drag their feet, and they will not pick up something until prices start to go up. That's just the way it is. It's inherently, I wouldn't say it's inherently within the nature of humans, but it's definitely inherently within the nature of a lot of consumers in this hobby. And Temple Forces might play out that way. Or Temple Forces ends up just crashing and burning. I mean, we are right at release for this stuff. You know, it still has a long, like, time to go for this stuff. And the reason why I'm making this video right now is because I'm not sure if this market manipulation is going to be enough to push this over the edge or not. But if it's not, I can't wait to go back and look at this exact set in a week from now and then a month from now. I cannot wait to look at it. And that's a short timeline, a week from now and a month from now. And I just want to see, does this set play out more similar to a 151 where, you know, prices don't really crash even though they should? And the only way that these prices do not crash is you need demand to keep the quantity listings low. I mean, 14 listings right now, that is low for TCG player. And the only way you could keep quantity listings low because people are going to keep listing cards for sale, but you're going to just need that person there to keep eating this up, keep buying up that supply and just pumping up these prices, and we'll see. And is Temple Force's pull rates that tough? And if they are truly that tough, then the people that are opening this product and they're more the collector and they only open up one of these cards, you know, they're not going to want to sell the one. The only time people really, who are the smaller sellers, are looking to offload a card is you pulled a duplicate of that card, and because you pulled that duplicate of that card, you're willing to put that onto the market to free up cash in order to buy the thing that you do want. But if pull rates are tough and you don't have people pulling duplicates of cards, you're going to have even less of these cards hit the market. It'll be very fascinating to watch. And if that does happen, if that scenario, then Temple Forces can be that set to buck the trend in Scarlet and Violet. And right now we're seeing this sell pretty strong at 100. And because, all the waves have really caught out, and then obviously we're going to get resupplies and stuff. But I'll be fascinated to see if this will be the first Scarlet and Violet set we see that will be the one that sells for 120 a booster box. Because I'm gonna be honest with you, $100 right now in today's market is still not healthy for Pokemon. Because when you're looking at what a lot of people are, I know a lot of people are paying less now for Temple Forces, so that is affecting the secondary market too. And what I mean by that is there was a lot of people when Scarlet and Violet increased the MSRP to 163. Even distribution, obviously, distribution didn't increase the price that much, but distribution increased a lot of people prices that they were paying like 92 a booster box. They increased them to 94 or 96 depending on your agreement. So because that MSRP for modern went up at distribution put that to their customer, so people were paying more. So when you got somebody who's on the lower end of the distribution chain and they're paying that 96, $100 is not healthy for a booster box. But when you and then $100 you do have some people with, and then now a lot of people are paying about $90 for a lot of this modern stuff. So 100's not terrible, it's more or less break even. But you do have your big resellers, the guys that are really have those low prices, are sub 90, so they're able to make some money at 100. But that real healthy price for this booster box is going to be that 120 price point, because then it doesn't really matter which end of that like spectrum you're on for distribution, if you're paying on that high end, that 96, or if you're paying that middle range of 90, or if you're on the real low range of paying and you're any place in the 80s. When you get to 120, well, everybody's happy at that point. Everybody could kind of make a little bit of money, even the smallest guy in that chain. So 120 is really like the healthy price we need. And then if it's healthy at 120, then you start to see that price slowly start to tick up, because all the people that are holding off who aren't willing to sell this product at a loss, then that's when they're going to start listing them for the 125, that 129. And then when you start to get to that 130 mark, if Temple Force can be that set, if it can be that set to really even break that 120 price point and get to 130, that's all it takes. Is you just need a set to be able to break through it through Scarlet and Violet. And if Temple Forces is the ability to break through all the negative that is surrounding Scarlet and Violet right now, that will be what a modern set will need. And it's not going to be what maybe a lot of people are hoping for, where you get a booster box at $90 at pre-release, and then in a couple months from now it's $200 booster boxes. Those days have gone the way of the dodo. Like, that's not going to probably happen again in this hobby. But uh, yeah. Uh, so yeah, Justin said Koba Lion is who the Temple, and so did Kevin O, who the Temple Forces Iron Crown is. Yeah. Uh, so Snowy said time the market manipulate Gengar. Yeah. Well, Gengar is undervalued. I mean, let's see. Let's see if this video, me saying Gengar is undervalued at $10. Let's see. I mean, look at that. Huge drop in price already. It's see what a little bit of supply can do to a card. From like 50% cut right now. I think $10. I think that's a solid price for this card. Is it playable though? Its ability: whenever your opponent attaches an energy card from their hand to one of their Pokemon, put 2 damage counters on that Pokemon. Tricky steps: you may move an energy from your opponent's active Pokemon to one of their bench Pokemon's weakness. Yeah. So I mean, maybe it's playable. I can't really tell. I don't know what decks people are playing right now. But uh, Punch Jump Kick said holding everything due to low prices. Well, I mean, some stuff is low prices. Any like Sword and Shield Sealed's doing fantastic right now. Coops, good to see you, buddy. Uh, Justin says, I won't even open this set. Singles are too cheap. I need to open a box, yeah. Are people saying I never played the TCG? I definitely know the TCG. So, Snowy says, apparently you can polish, fix scratches, hollow cards now, and all grading card companies accept it. Well, it's like, if you use any of that card altering product, it is against like PSA and CGCs. It says literally you can't alter cards. They're just not able to catch it, so it's tough. Ari, good to see you. Justin says, you would be amazed at what some of these people can do to make cards look better condition. Whitening can never be fixed, though. Not that I know of, yeah. The day people figure out how to fix whitening and grading cards can't catch it, prices will crash. Yeah. I mean, I have my pile of ink cards. I still got to make that video. If you guys don't, I know, James, if you're out there, I got to make this video. But I've been wanting to do it justice, and this is my pile of all green label cards. And I told you, there's some bangers in here. This is the spoiler card that I've shown a lot of people. Fresh Tat says, Temple Forces is equal to Battle Styles. Oh, that's an interesting hot take. So do you think that, in the sense that it's Battle Styles, so it's going to kind of introduce like a newer sort of chase? Because like Battle Styles was pretty hot at release, though. You know, people that had Battle Styles were selling it for 160 at release. Like, Battle Styles was a very popular set and sold out of everywhere's right away. But Battle Styles just got tons of reprints, which really helped to knock its prices down until eventually it was $80 a booster box. And then Battle Styles is coming up, but it's still low in comparison to all other Sword and Shield sets. And Battle Styles might wind up being like your Steam Siege / Crimson Invasion, so the way Steam Siege was for XY and the way Crimson Invasion was for Sun and Moon, Battle Styles might be that for Sword and Shield. And then, for Scarlet and Violet, I'll be curious, like, what will be their Crimson Invasion, Will it be Scarlet and Violet base? Now, I think that's probably like the weakest of all the sets would be Scarlet and Violet base, but even then, who knows? Uh, let's see. So Tap said the robots are the future, the dinosaurs are the past. Yes. Uh, Fresh Chat says Roaring Moon is beautiful. Yeah, I think Roaring Moon will come out, and that will be the big card from this generation. Uh, so Justin said, didn't TCG Player do a 10% credit back on purchases, and that's why all boxes went up? I don't know if that's you can make that correlation of why all the boxes went up. Boxes were already going up. I mean, TCG Player did do, I think it was like an 8% credit, but I wouldn't say that's why all the booster boxes went up. Uh, let's see. Uh, Pokebondo said, instead of buying a bunch of sealed this set, I've overspent on some past Scarlet and Violet. I'm sticking to just the singles with a occasional couple of packs. I'm looking more forward to the next set coming out. Interesting. Yeah, I've really passed on all Scarlet and Violet up to this point. So I don't know if Temple Force is even something I want to get into right now, or just kind of sit back and wait and see how all this works out. Brown CLM said, hot take. Pokemon is dropping new sets so fast. The only Scarlet and Violet sets they'll reprint are specialty sets. Interesting. So you're saying that Pokemon is just going so fast that they're not going to reprint anything? Maybe. I mean, they've already kind of did small reprints of some stuff, but Snowy says he bets 151 doesn't get a reprint. Oh, I hope so. I mean, I hope it doesn't get a reprint because that would be nice. Tap says Pokemon has a new set every few months for 20 years. You're just paying attention now, so it seems fast. Yes and no. Uh, it's definitely been sets faster than it was, but yeah, and that's something I've talked about. Tap is that Pokemon is just. I've said it in a million videos. Pokemon is just a freight train going down the road. It doesn't turn around, and yeah, they've always been pumping out sets really fast. The only thing is that we are running into a point where you only ever they've always pumped out like 4 sets a year, but the problem is now we're getting 2 specialty sets. So, and sometimes 3 specialty sets. So when you have 2 of the 3 specialty sets, an example being, well, what do you mean by 3 specialty sets? Like you had in 2021, you had, or when did Pokemon Go come out? But still, you have like Shining Fates, Celebrations, Pokemon Go all come out like with all these specialty sets coming out like more at a faster rate. It's in a way like one extra set per year, which can make a difference too, especially if you're buying a lot of this. I mean, if you're only buying like a pack or two, this channel's not really for you. I mean, that's not really who I'm talking about. Uh, Cashmere Fire said, I just sold the Chill and Rain box for $200.95 today, so it's not just during the sale. Oh, nice. Uh, So Pokebondo said, anybody dabbling or looking into the Star Wars Unlimited TCG? I heard about it, but I wasn't really looking into it. Uh, so John Doe says, I like this. He says, I think Pokemon knows we all want 151, so they're holding back, making us eat more of this Scarlet and Violet. It's a good strategy if you think about it. Like, uh, I think we could definitely see another reprint of 151. Now, I don't think we see like UPCs reprinted, but I can definitely see like reprints of maybe ETBs, and I could definitely see reprints of like booster bundles for 151, or even maybe more collection boxes in the future. You know, I hope not collection boxes. I hope they're just giving the packs, so the booster bundles. But who knows? Uh, let's see. Uh, Justin says all somebody has to do is buy a bunch of cards from themselves and pay the fees to boost the value of a card. Yeah. Oh, I jumped to the bottom. You guys are really chatting up a storm. I was like, oh, this is going to be a real short live. Guess I was wrong again. Uh, let's see. John Doe says, oh, I got to that point. Justin said they needed the downloadable content because Scarlet and Violet wasn't doing very well in his opinion. Yeah, and from everybody that played the game, it just seemed like for how big Pokemon is and how much time you think would go into the games, the same way as my internet connection's lagging out, Pokemon was just having so many issues with their game where the actual quality of the gameplay and for what people thought you should expect from a Pokemon game was just kind of lacking. And like even like the PAL world and stuff, very small budget opposed to Pokemon's budget, which can't even imagine what Pokemon's budget is for games. But with how big Pokemon's budget is, you shouldn't have any of the issues that it seemed like they were having. So, uh, let's see. So Snowy said Temple Force is just released and Twilight Masquerade is already up for pre-orders. Yeah, that's just the way it is. I remember when Chill and Rain was released. Like we were talking about Chill and Rain, and then like Fusion Strike right away too. And then before that, it was Chill. We were talking about Chill and Rain. Pre-orders were up at the same time. Battle Styles was released. Uh, so Dave C said no matter what that Gengar pops. Yeah, I do like that Gengar. It is a nice card. I mean, for $10 too. That's a good price. I do like me some Gengar. Any sellers selling multiple quantities of them? I'll have to look into. Oh, let's see. 101, 101. Wonder if anybody's actually selling like multiple quantities. Ooh, 1 of 20. Ooh, 2 sales. Yeah. New seller with 2 sales with a quantity list of 20. I don't know. That's a little too sketch for my liking. Sorry, ladies and gentlemen. Oh, too bad. You always do get the one guy with two sales. Uh, let's see. Justin said, I've actually had a Treckle Gold Star that someone marked on the back and BGS missed it. I was so mad to have to sell it altered when it wasn't graded by BGS. Oh, okay. Uh, so Pokebondo said, I'm trying to learn my lesson. Uh, there's a few cards I want, need, and waited on a few boxes to buy all of them for a price of 2 booster boxes. Makes sense, yeah. Uh, Danny says 151 is all over the place for retail. You just have to check everywhere. Yeah. Pokebondo says, I want those starter Pokemons graded. PSA 10s have been selling mid 20s to 30 with a relatively tough 10 to grade. Yeah, I mean, we're back to the point of you lose money or break even on 9s and then you only make a couple bucks on 10s. But yeah, it's pretty wild that some of these cards, even in 10s, like, there's a few cards I've seen sell in 10s where the person was losing money when you take into factor the cost of grading, assuming that they graded at bulk at PSA, so that's $15. And then when you look at what that price of that card is raw near mint, like there's just no premium in a 10. And that's something I didn't think we would ever see again. I thought like the hobby as a whole just would never value a 10 less than the price of that card near mint plus the price of graded. But here we are. Anyways, guys, I wanted to have a short live. I was like 30 minutes. Here we are, an hour later. Sorry for everybody that thought I was going to have a long live. Sorry that my stream kept going in and out. But listen, guys, appreciate every single one of you. And as always, I'll catch you on the next video.